What's up, everyone? Beard usually out of control. Yeah. So I was just looking at this dog. I guess it was like half Labrador and half French poodle. And it had like a really big nose and a big snout. It was a cool dog. But it's kind of weird because I guess the French poodle has like a real thin body and the skull is kind of pointed. And I guess when it mixed with the golden retriever, rather, it has a weird shaped head. You pet it and it's like there's this little cone head on top of it. It's kind of a cool dog, though. I mean, other than the weirdness of trying to pet its head, it's kind of a cool dog. The lady I was talking to, she was telling me, how smart the dog is and this and that, and I was agreeing because I remember we had a half poodle, half I don't know if it was a cocker spaniel, but anyway, the dog was called a cockapoo. Okay, I'm not trying to be vulgar here. It was called a cockapoo. That's actually the name of it. And it was a little dog. I mean, it was real, pretty small. Anyway, that fucking dog, there wasn't one fucking thing you could teach it that it would not be able to get taught. It would be anxious to learn it, I fucking taught it how to, first I found out it liked to retrieve things. That must be the other part of it rather than poodle. But that's what was geared in its mind to, do the hunting shit. It was weird because the dog didn't look like a hunting dog, But anyway, I trained it. I would throw, I get rounded kind of rocks and I'd whip them down. And the dog was smart enough to know not to grab the rock while it was rolling because, it fucking hurt itself. So wait till it would stop rolling and then pick up the rock. So because of that, I, got bigger rocks and I threw them. It would go after them, wait till they stopped, and then pick them up to the point where the rock was so heavy, the dog would actually start walking on the front two legs and the back end would come up. It was a riot. And it would try to get it to me, that way. It was a riot. Probably not one of my best choices because over time of doing that, I think it kind of made its teeth not as sharp, unfortunately for the dog. But, which was okay because, what kind of dog like that's going to actually be able to defend the household, so I wasn't too worried about that. But the one thing that it was able to learn was to kill squirrels. I fucking trained it to, when I was in Missouri, I trained it to, chase squirrels. And it would, sneak up on them, like that, just like a fucking pointer dog or something, really slow, just like any hunting dog or even a feline does that kind of shit, a cat. And sometimes it wouldn't necessarily be able to catch the squirrels when there was a lot of trees around where I lived. So, but once in a while it would get lucky and it would be, the squirrel wouldn't be paying attention. His face would be opposite to the dog and the dog would get a hold of it, and she'd try to kill it, and in fact, she did kill it one time, one of the squirrels one time. I went inside, I skinned it, and I ate the fucking thing, because, it was kind of like, well, don't kill a squirrel and just leave the fucking corpse. That's stupid, and so I fucking ate the damn squirrel. Of course, I didn't know how to cook a squirrel, so it ended up being like rubber, but I think I put the whole fucking thing down just to say I did it, I used like garlic butter and stuff. But then I'd go to the golf courses, and that's where the dog's abilities really came through. Because the squirrels on the golf course, they'd have long stretches before they could get to the trees to get up and away from the dog. So the dog would have a chance to run them down and catch them. And so that's exactly what I did. I went up to the golf course, and that fucking dog killed so many squirrels. And, I'll be honest with you, most of the time, their eyes would pop out of their head and shit. And, I would just, I'd just throw them in some brush or something. I'm not going to eat fucking every squirrel she killed. But another time, I think, I trained it to climb trees. And I trained it to get up almost vertical trees like oak trees where there's bark, they could get their little claws in there, even though they're dog claws, they could still manage to get some foothold. If the tree had a slight tilt to it, it could almost climb the tree. And if the tree had even more tilt to it, it could climb the trees. So I would put a rock up there, and she loved going after rocks. I don't know why. So I'd put a rock up there. She'd see it from a distance. I'd tell her to stay, and she'd, sit down and wait, in aspiration to go get the fucking rock. I'd put it way up in the tree bark. I'd cram it in the tree bark, like a two-dimensional rock. And I'd cram it up in there. And she knew exactly where it was, man. I don't know how, dogs don't even see that well, but that dog, it would run, it would take a leap, and it would jump up on the tree, even though the tree was almost vertical, and I swear it would go up about 15 feet high and get that fucking rock, and I don't know how the fucking dog did it, to be quite honest with you. It's kind of amazing, actually. But then I started to try to train it on ramps and stuff, and to see, if I could train it like a police dog, to go at like a cadaver dog or something. So I started training it using I don't even think maybe I did use rocks, I don't know, but I trained it to climb up all these little homemade catwalks and shit. And she wouldn't miss a beat, she'd know exactly where I put the rock, and she'd fucking get up there and get it. That dog was cool, And at one point, I went to the golf course, and I realized, I'll throw this rock towards the pond, it'll go in the pond, and the dog will take a swim, and that won't hurt the dog, that's good for a dog, take a swim, right? So I threw a rock, she went after it, it went into the pond, and what did she do? The first thing she did was she went underwater. And I got a little paranoid. I was like, oh, what the fuck? And she came up, I swear, the first time she came up, I think it was like a big stick or something, a big old piece of wood in her mouth, because she can't smell underwater, so she couldn't identify where the rock was, but she would pick up whatever she could get. And then in a couple cases, when I started getting into that, she would actually find a rock and swim the rock to the top of the water. It wouldn't necessarily be the same rock, but it would be a rock big enough to where you're like, how the fuck did you even get to the top of the water, dog? I mean, you got paws, you don't got fucking flippers. How the hell did you do that? So I would always, compliment the dog and good dog, And one time I threw something in there and she went under too long. So I was getting ready, to dive in. I took my shirt off, and of course I was worried my dog was drowned. So I was getting ready to jump in, and all of a sudden she pops back up, and she has like a fucking sign in her mouth. A golf course sign that some vandal probably threw in the water. It was kind of funny because I kept that sign, and I brought it to my house, cleaned it off, and I kept it for a while as a memento from that dog, And what happened was, and I don't know, I guess maybe it's probably my fault, she developed a skin disorder, and the vet, when we brought her to the vet, said it was kind of rare, and I think my mom told the doctor, the vet, that she went in ponds like on the golf course and stuff. And he said, well, she probably contracted it by going under the water or in the water in general, and dogs do get the skin disease from stuff like that. Anyway, so the dog was kind of like mange, but it wasn't losing too much hair, but it was losing hair, and it was scratching all the time. It was such a drag. I tried to help the dog out a little, she was suffering, and we were getting ready, we had to probably put her down, because she was suffering. She was itching all the time, and that's no life for a dog. So I experimented. I got a little bud of weed, and like a pill, how you give a dog a pill. I put it in there just to see if it would reduce her scratching or something. Big mistake on my part. She growled at me. She started, it didn't get her, I guess it got her high, but instead of helping her, she acted like I was a stranger, and she growled at me and shit. So, big mistake, a learning curve, okay, a learning curve. Like I said, I'm not, a genius in all these different kinds of ways or anything, I make shitloads of mistakes, with pets, with myself, sometimes with my memory. So anyway, that wouldn't ever happen again. So I said, oh, sorry. When she recovered, I was like, sorry, Muffy, I'll never do that again to you, man. Never. Sorry about that. You know, I had no idea it would fucking do that to you. And anyway, like a month or two later, we had to bring her in and get her put down. But for all you out there that think it's okay for your hunting dog to go into ponds and swim, it's not. They can get diseases in there and stuff. And everyone knows just a dog running around outside isn't even necessarily safe. They get roundworm from the mud, just from the mud. You know, so, I mean, there's no quick answers for a dog. I guess if you had a dog and you wanted it to do stuff like that, you'd literally have to put stuff in its ears. I mean, put stuff around its feet. I don't even think you should put a dog in water that's like fresh water. Maybe salt water is better because, you know, the salt kills a lot of the germs and stuff. You know what I mean? But so, yeah, anyway, I was talking about that shooter in Las Vegas. I won't even mention his name because, I don't know. I don't like to mention names of stories that I'm not 100% convinced of. I mean, I said 17 guns, I think, on my video. And to be quite honest, I've heard people make statements that the cops weren't saying all the guns were up there, they were at his home. Now that's bullshit, because I remember him saying he had a shitload of guns up in the room. So I just want to make that perfectly clear. That's how it was originally told. And later they found guns at his home. Okay, it just happened to be the original amount they said was in the room he was in, 19. So I don't know what to believe. And the ammonia nitrate shit, come on, man. Who's going to do that on a one-way suicide trip? You got to know you're going to die if you do something like that in Las Vegas. You got to know you're going to fucking die, right? So why would you even have unprepped ammonia nitrate in your car? Okay, I'm just going to leave that alone. You guys figure that out, okay? Because that doesn't make sense. I'm not saying a killer like that makes sense, but his past doesn't indicate that he had a disorder or was communicating with people. We'll find out through that Filipino chick, maybe. If that is not a CIA plant, you know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean. So I was looking at other people's YouTube channels, and I am kind of shocked. Some of the people, they're younger, and I mean, this one guy I was talking, I was chatting on his page. I think I even subscribed to him, so you might see him if you're looking at my video. And I'll just give you a hint. The first name of his YouTube channel is Stunt. Okay. Anyway, he didn't even know what liberals or Democrats were or fucking Republicans. I'm like, what? I mean, and all his friends on the chat are like drinking shitloads of beer, and that's all they do. They just fucking drink beer and just like hang out, like play some music. I'm like, that is the proclivity. That is at the height of their YouTube channel. They don't really have a subject. They don't even fucking sit there and talk about stuff. But there is this one person, I listened to his channel. I'll be honest, I was subscribed for a little while, but I had to unsubscribe because he's got a disability. He's got Asperger's syndrome. And, well, in the past, I made a joke about Asperger's syndrome. And, I'll just be quite honest. He'll say things that can get him into trouble because of his disability. I mean, literally, probably, people would want to fucking cause harm to him. So I was like, well, I'll talk to him, but I'm just going to try to promote him doing stuff that's oddball, kind of like jackass videos. But I'm not going to promote, I'm always going to tell him when I think he's wrong. Don't say this, don't say that. That's just going to get you into trouble. And, whether he listens or not, it's kind of pointless. But I listen to his channel because you know why? Because he talks. He says things. He'll go on. Yeah, he'll repeat things, a lot because he's got Asperger's syndrome. He repeats shit, he'll say it like 3 or 4 or 5 times. And of course, I don't watch all his videos all the way through. But originally, when he was doing his videos, it was funny because, like, I mean, before he started taking his meds, he wasn't that fat, he said. He wasn't fat at all, really. And then he took the meds, and like a lot of these people that are disabled, that are taking whatever kinds of medicine, they end up blowing up to like a lot of weight. And he would just sit there in his underwear, and he would not even have underwear that fit. I mean, they would like hang down to the point, and they didn't look like he used bleach on them or anything. They just looked nasty. And it was kind of humorous. And so I watched it. I said, eventually he's gonna do something wrong, and somebody's gonna see something through there, and he's gonna get deleted. He's gonna have to call up the YouTube people and say, hey man, why is my channel not up anymore? And they're gonna say, well, you know, this or that happened. And he's gonna say, well, it won't happen again. So now he wears shorts, which is smart, you know. It's just smart to wear shorts, you know, because you could get in big trouble fucking doing shit like that, wearing loose underwear that don't fit, that, you know, obviously eventually somebody's going to see something. And it was just humorous, you know, in the sense that he didn't understand. He doesn't. You'll even tell him stuff. You'll tell him straight up, you know, what's the cheapest, shittiest, you know, video game you ever bought or found that turned out to be absolutely killer, you know, awesome. And he didn't understand the question. So I guess that's part of his Asperger's, you know, some things you'll say he won't, so you have to kind of put it in another format so he will understand it. So you got to kind of like change up the sentence and make it, you know, a little different, so that he kind of figures it out. But anyway, so I don't know why I'm addicted to watching him sometimes. I think it's because, you know, this is kind of like an example of what a lot of people in the mental health actually, what ends up happening to them is they, you know, they're chemical lobotomy cases. You know, they're taking medicine, they don't care. They don't ask questions. They just take the shit. And when something like diabetes comes along, they don't fucking care, and they still don't care. They take whatever the doctor prescribes, you know. Now he's got to do his insulin and shit, you know. Anyway, let's get past this. So I'm out here drinking my coffee, not beer. I don't drink at all. I mean, I used to drink when I was like 7. I mean, we used to put down, like, me and a friend, we would drink a bottle of Jack Daniels like that. And, you know, like fucking that big. You know, fucking whatever ounces it is or whatever. Not the biggest bottle, but the one that's slightly littler. I don't know. Anyway, for 7-year-olds to put that shit down in their stomach, it would be alcohol poisoning, you know, or close to it anyway. And but because we were kids like that, you know, the immediate urge was after we drank it, and we were able to drink the gulps and put them down without puking, but eventually your stomach just couldn't handle it, and you would purge it all out. And so that would avoid being poisoned by it. But yeah, I used to do a lot of drinking, but I was young. I fucking was young when I did all my drinking. I fucking never got addicted to alcohol. The reason was I wasn't really impressed by getting drunk. I just never felt impressed by it. You know, smoking weed impressed me a lot more. But, you know, later in life I used it for pain issues. But also, you know, I've brought it up on other videos. It knocks my dreams out. So I quit smoking pot. I mean, I love pot, but if it's going to fucking steal my dreams at night when I'm sleeping, then it's like stealing creativity from me. You know what I mean? So I quit smoking for just that reason, because I want to fucking dream. And now I'm dreaming, you know, one dream after the other, you know, all night long. Fucking dream after dream after dream. And it's cool. I mean, I might as well be on ayahuasca, with the exception of being, you know, having shit coming out both ends, which ayahuasca is known to do. Now, I've never done ayahuasca, but if I did, I guess in a controlled circumstance of being controlled sick, I guess it'd be okay, because a lot of people say drinking ayahuasca at a ceremony in Brazil with the natives, it's an experience that they actually loved, even though they got sick, which, I don't know, I guess that could happen. So eventually I'm going to have to start. I notice a lot of these people, they got sites with a lot of subscribers, but for some reason I guess they do their video or their live feed or whatever, and then they delete it or somebody else deletes it, but they got all these subscribers still. And it's like, what are they doing? Are they getting on there and what are they possibly saying that could make them want to delete their videos every time they make them and yet still retain all those subscribers? So I have to, I'm going to have to ask one of these people that I got, ask her, why is it that your videos aren't up? Why is it there always no content, yet you got all these subscribers, Because I want to know. I just started my channel, I guess we're going on 4 weeks now. Yeah, people are looking at them. And I went, all the way to 9 subscribers, and then a friend that has a Facebook page, he tried to give me all this information, like I was supposed to soak it up and use all his friends and send a link to his page. But I did something like that in the past, and all it did was create problems. Yeah, I got 78 likes on my jokes because I was kind of like a comedian. I was a comedian. And, but they're very dirty jokes and stuff. And anyway, he was in control of the stuff you write, like I didn't have any control. So he wrote shit, and all it did was scare people away from watching my comedy. So even though I got 78 likes off it, he fucking basically said shit that kind of like prevented people from wanting to look at it. So no, don't ever let someone else load your shit and have it on their site. Always maintain control of your stuff. That's the bottom line. Don't let someone else fucking control your shit ever. Just recently I gave somebody, a chance to look into a story that I have that could either be screenplayed out for a movie, which it would have to be. And, I was told by one of his actors he's interested. Now, 100% sure whether or not that's factual or not, I don't know, but he hasn't blocked me on his messenger. I gave him my number. I told him, I know you're busy. You probably don't have time, and blah, blah, blah. I understand. And we'll see. Eventually, if I don't get any response, I'm just going to fucking go ahead and, turn my story into fiction, I guess, because it's actually a fact-based story. But I'm going to have to just make it fictional and turn it into a screenplay and just try to sell it that way. Because bottom line is, the factual part of it is more of a cash cow than it would be if it was fictionalized, by far. So I really think that he needs to give me a call, to be quite honest. I don't think he wants to delay too much longer, because there are certain circumstances in the past where I've had things happen, and as time went by and there was issues that I had as a youth, like I said, drinking, this, that, or the other, that some of the memories weren't as crisp as other memories are. And luckily, the real crisp memories are the ones that were cash cow movie making type stuff. So if you have information on any directors that have a budget, this director is not responding right away. He hasn't blocked me, but he's not responding right away. And I'll be honest with you, I have patience to a degree. I want to hear from him, but if he's not going to fucking at least say something on the messenger back to me, then I'll have to go in another direction. And I'll be looking for directors other than him. Not to be, rude, but it's just business is business, I got to move along. My mind isn't going to stay crisp with all these events forever, And like I said, some of them aren't that crisp anymore because I've aged. Anyway, guys, I'm almost at my limit of 25 minutes. I didn't really have too much to say today, or did I? Probably did, but and I kind of went back over some other subjects, but I had to tell you about that freaking dog. That was so fucking cool.